previously mentioned in the box office report, Star Wars The Force Awakens continues to march on in its box office dominance. But how dominant is it? Well, in just its third week of release, The Force Awakens has now overtaken James Cameron's Titanic for the #2 domestic box office position of all time. For some context, Titanic took 8 months to hit its $658 million domestic total, and Star Wars has beat it with $740 million in just 3 weeks. The Force Awakens has also passed Frozen, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Avengers Age of Ultron in the all-time worldwide box office rankings to now sit at number 6 of all time, still trailing only Furious 7, Avengers, Jurassic World, Titanic, and Avatar. Schnepp, where do you think Star Wars will end up when it's all said and done?
Wow, when it's all said and done, like in about, I guess, 3 or 4 months, I think Star Wars The Force Awakens will be the #1 box office champion of all time. It's going to overtake Avatar, I'd say probably in like 2 months, is my guess, worldwide, globally. And I have to say, I think it deserves it. It's a really fun film. I mean, I've been reading a lot over the last week, a lot of people who just didn't like The Force Awakens, and some really interesting and well thought out theories and opinions and criticisms, all of which I disagree with and can fight them in an argument, because I think the film was such a great restoration of what Star Wars was, especially to me as a kid, and to what, not just as a kid but as an adult, what that film was about. I think, even Lucas said, oh, they went retro, and I understand what Lucas was talking about, where he was, I mean, this isn't about box office, I'm going off a little bit, but he was just basically saying, hey, Star Wars to me is not retro. Every time I did a new trilogy, I tried to create new vehicles, create new characters, create new worlds, and what The Force Awakens did was kind of go back to those original characters and see where they are now. And I thought that really resonated with me. And I think that, yeah, there's a few things that you can complain about. Sure, there's another Death Star, whatever. Those things that wasn't the biggest nitpicky thing for me. I mean, I think a lot of people who hated the film went in wanting to hate it. And I felt that a lot with a lot of the criticisms as well. There was like this kind of weird nitpickiness to it that, hey, look, everyone has their own opinion. If you hated The Force Awakens, enjoy your hate. I'm enjoying loving the film. So, I think it's going to be the #1 film of all time in about 4 months.
Mark? I think it's such a clever mix of nostalgia and newness for people. So, and the film moves at such a quick clip. That's one of the things that I've noticed with multiple repeat viewings that I've experienced, is that it's really hard to catch everything in there once or even twice. So people want to come back. Sometimes you want to come back because you want to see Han Solo on screen. You want to, remember how cool it was to see him pop up for the first time. And then you also want to just go see Rey and Finn, the way that they interact, their chemistry, BB-8, Kylo Ren. You want to see all the other stuff that you didn't get a chance to really focus on the first or second time you saw it. So it's got such a replay value, and it's like a really good team that has an easy schedule in front of it for the next couple of weeks. You don't have to play anybody. What's coming out? You have Hateful Eight that's getting more releases next week, and that's pretty much it. I mean, look, is The Forest going to beat it? Is 13 Hours, a movie I'm looking forward to the next week, is that going to beat it? There's not a lot coming in January until later in the month. So not only do I think it's going to overtake Avatar, and I think it's going to be the worldwide champ of all time for the moment, I think that it's going to be #1 at the box office for weeks and weeks to come.
Yeah, I think Star Wars The Force Awakens is going to be #1 at the box office until the end of the month. When you get to the 29th and Kung Fu Panda 3 comes out, it will become the new #1 film at the box office. It's going to catch. Ashley mentioned that Fast and Furious 7 is still ahead of it as far as the worldwide box office totals. It might pass that before the end of the show is done, because it was only about $10 million behind worldwide Furious 7. I still think, and it will probably catch Avatar for the #1 domestic spot probably before the weekend.
Very quickly.
Yeah, I think before the weekend even gets here, Star Wars Force Awakens will become the #1 domestic box office film of all time. I still don't see a scenario where Star Wars Force Awakens can catch Avatar as far as worldwide box office goes. It's wrapping up its third week now. It's already dropped. It's dropping over 40% every week so far. That's from week to week to week. So even though it still made $88 million, it's still dropping. The problem was when Avatar came out, it started doing this and started making more and more as each week went on. By the end of its third week, a film has made the majority of the money it's going to make. And Star Wars The Force Awakens is still $1.2 billion behind Avatar worldwide. I think it's possible. I think it is possible. I think it will catch Titanic at $2 billion for the number 2 spot, but it will all come down, I think, to China.
Right.
Yeah.
Because right now, the number 1 film all time in China was $390 million. Now, that's not nearly enough, but it's a good chunk to get you towards that thing. But I'm having a lot of people telling me, and I simply don't know. I got to plead ignorance here. I just don't know. I'm having a bunch of people telling me that Star Wars is not as big in China. Like, don't confuse China with Japan. Like, Star Wars is massive in Japan, not as big in China. I'm like, okay, I don't know that. So some people are thinking Star Wars won't even catch Fast and Furious 7 in China. Now, I think it still has to open in India as well. Huge market there. But if Star Wars continues to keep dropping, like at 40%, and nothing has been opening up against it until next week. Next week, you got 13 Hours, which is going to have a significant audience. You got Ride Along 2 coming out, which is going to have a significant audience. Neither will catch Star Wars for the number 1 spot, but it's going to eat into that box office number. So I think it is possible, but that $2.7 billion that Avatar's got, that is a daunting, big number. I don't know. If I had to put money on it, I would say it won't catch Avatar, but stranger things have happened.
Well, also, 2015 was the year that I stopped trusting box office projections. It was like finding out Santa Claus wasn't real, because it's like, oh, you guys do all this research, but it really didn't matter when it comes to Fast 7 or Jurassic World, particularly with those movies week to week, not just with their opening box office take, but like you expect to see Fast 7 drop, and it didn't drop as much as we did, and it just kept on chugging. Maybe Star Wars has the same thing. Right, maybe everybody who wanted to see Star Wars already got their fill in, but maybe it does have those wheels, those legs that we've already seen with a lot of movies that we didn't think would last year.
Yeah, and maybe this weekend when all of us go see it again.
Probably twice.
We got
2
to
more
pay
times
for it
this
now.
weekend.
Damn it.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, click here to watch the entire episode. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because it'll help you stay up to date with all the stuff we've got going on here at Collider.